Hey everyone, welcome back to the Geopods. Now, today with us, we have a very special guest straight from Greece, Mr. Professor John. Now, he is the director at the Research Institute for European and American Studies and also chairman at the European Intelligence Academy. With Professor John today, we'll be discussing about general geopolitics of the world and more so about the bilateral relationship between India and Athens. Now, Professor, you are an interesting man. And before we go ahead, when are you inviting us to Greece so that, we can sit in a room and, chat across from the room and talk about the geopolitics?
Mm. Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning to all to the India people. I'm very happy to be here on the GeoStrata platform. Let me just make it one very short remarks. Why I'm interested in India? Because in 2015, I was invited by the India Foundation to deliver a speech about migration issues in Jaipur. So I came to India and I was very happy, to see how many similarities we have. Number one. Number two, now, regarding, Greek geopolitical situation today, Greece, as you realize, is a country among three continents. We are member of the European Union, also a member of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. Across WAC, we have, African continent, and to the Anatolia, to eastern way, we have the Asian, and of course, starting from Turkey and go on. So Greece geographically is extremely important, not just for Europe, but for Africa and Asia. We have many issues to confirm because we are a small country, 10 million people. And in 2010, we were caught by very deep surprise because, illegal migration started to arise from Southeast Asia and North Africa directly to us. So 90% of the people who enter Greece towards the European Union came from the Greek island. So imagine how many people we had to deal. In one day, in the 2010, 10,000 people in one day came on the island of Lesbos, a close island near the Turkish coast. And that was really one of the biggest humanitarian disaster we face in Greece and in the European Union. So one of the biggest threat that Greece is facing today, also the European Union is facing, is the illegal migration issues. And you can compare it with with the same situation that happened between the federal government in the United States and Texas. So we have a lot of similarities here. The second issue is that Greece is a Balkan state, but it has access to the Aegean and the Mediterranean Sea. So you can imagine that the people from North Africa, that they are very unstable. If you can see what's happening in the civil war in Libya or in the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, and recently on September, October, we have a war between Gaza, Hamas, and against Israel. This is another problem because, ladies and gentlemen, to go from Athens to Tel Aviv is 1 hour. So can you imagine how close we are? And this war has a lot of spillover effect, not only to the Middle East and to the neighbor countries like Egypt, Palestine, Jordan, Syria, but to us too. Because many migrants and many displaced people, they are moving to Syria and from Syria to Turkey and directly to us. And when I'm saying directly to us, Greece is a European country. We are really, protect the European borders, even though there is no such as a European migration policy. We have to face a huge problem to protect the European problem unilaterally to some extent, because only the Greek Coast Guard, with some assistance from Frontex, which the European Union border agency, help us. But the biggest burden comes to our hand. All right. So what I can say and conclude with that Greece is a little Texas. if you understand what I'm saying, because the problem is huge. People come here legally, no problem. Most of the migrants who come from India are coming here legally, and they have a very good, condition. They are very quiet people. They are businessmen. No problem with India. But when we're talking about illegal migrants from Bangladesh, major from Bangladesh, from Afghanistan after Taliban took over, and Bangladesh, this is a huge problem. And like I said, this is not only a Greek problem, it's a European problem.
So, Professor,
Yeah.
what you've done is that you've painted for us a sort of a canvas, right? Where a geopolitical canvas, which sort of Greece faces, right? And sure to say that migration is one of the things that, Europe as a bloc, or let's just say Greece, is also facing. Now, before we sort of dive deeper into it, could you help us paint a picture about the bilateral relationship between India and Greece, and why have you been one of the supporters for increasing the relationship between the two countries?
Yes, sir. This is a very important question. Now, India to us is the largest democratic country in the world. And it's a hugely populated, overpass, the Chinese. We have many historical and cultural similarities. The India people are very welcome to Greece, even though we have some geographical distance. And when I came to Jaipur in 2015, I had a lot of discussion with India decision maker, and I tried to contact India think tank university just to motivate and activate how important is India, India institution, India government to look Greece as a window into the European Union, included, of course, Cyprus. Because Cyprus and Greece are, more or less supporting each other, and we have a lot of cultural differences. Therefore, India to us is extremely important for several reasons. One reason here is that India is a country that can provide us a lot, uh, a lot of information related to the situation that it's happened there in the region. Number two, India can provide us with a lot of knowledge about, statistical research, mathematics, research and development, defense technology, and a lot of information that we don't have in Greece, or like the solar program that Prime Minister came to Greece and the Foreign Minister came to us here, and we had a lot of bilateral relation. Also, we are looking forward, to the Greek think tank, like the one that I am the chairman, and the university to have young scholars from India come here. In my institute, I have an India scholar who is writing and promoting the India-Greek relationship. So the young generation, is welcome to come to Greece. On the other side, we would like to see more India businessmen here. We would like to see India be involved in the maritime security, in the trade and maritime trade, and use the Greek port as a way to Europe. And if I can say that, India is extremely important to us on the security issues. Why? Because we have a large number of illegal Pakistani. So the India intelligence community and the security community and the defense community could, have institutional flow of information, exchange of information with the Greeks, and just help us to understand how the India security professional face problem with Bangladesh, especially the illegal, network, criminal network. There's a lot of drugs trafficking in the region too. And of course, we face a problem that only India that has this expertise and this information can help a small country like Greece.
Professor, one of the things that, if I could tell you the India's perspective, right? Indian people and like everyone in India in general, right, would be very excited, or people are very fascinated about, Greece, because that's something that, we've also studied in depth about, right? Or we've studied, so surely there's like a lot of case, or like, big case for the bilateral relationship between the two of us, and hopefully, with our prime minister visiting the country, and hopefully we should see that the relationship progresses ahead. Now, moving on from here, it's almost impossible to talk about Greece and not talk about Turkey, your neighbor.
Mm,
And that's something that also features in your writing, time and again. So what I would want you to ask you is, how does Greece and how do you look at uh, Turkey's geopolitics, and more
yes.
so Mr. Erdogan's geopolitics, from, let's just say, the perspective of European politics or politics within NATO? What do you have, or what would you have to say on that?
Yes. Well, sir, Turkey is a huge country, and we have a lot of historical differences, says the Ottoman Empire. Turkey today is under some kind of a strange situation because Mr. Erdogan is a president and he's on the power level more than 20 years. That makes Turkey really abandons the secular Kemalist approach and move it to the Islamic principle. And this created a lot of issues, a lot of constraints that a member of NATO, uh, well, Greece is a member of NATO, both of us are NATO member, and we don't really behave in that way because Turkey always, violate Greek airfare also, and they create a lot of constraints by using a lot of intelligence operation in Greece and Cyprus to collect information and so on. And this is unacceptable to NATO member, to be so aggressive to each other because Turkey could easily destabilize NATO in the Eastern Mediterranean, in the Southeastern Europe. On the other side, Mr. Erdogan is played, a regional geostrategical chess. He's trying to have a good collaboration with Russia, who is right now in a very strange mood with the West. On the other side, he's moving towards Southeast in Eurasia and try to develop, uh, Pakistani, collaboration. It's quite unacceptable for us here in Greece to see Pakistani pilot and the Turkish Air Force. And it's unacceptable for us to see Turkish, security and intelligence, operation using Pakistani network, not only in Greece, but in the rest of Europe. So you can imagine that Greece realized that this is not going to be as it is today. And of course, you see that Turkey is moving to the occupied area in Cyprus, that illegally, occupied in 1974, the 33%, and they behave like how can I say, a non-state actor, a non-state actor. The other things that I would like to say about the geopolitical situation today in Turkey, that Turkey has become like a hub for drugs, for global drugs trafficking, because many drugs that leave at Kabul in Taliban come all the way from Iran, from Pakistan, Iran to Turkey, primarily in Istanbul. And on the other side, many, drugs like cocaine or heroin from all the way Colombia, Venezuela, and Ecuador, going also through Madrid and through other places to Istanbul. So Turkey today has become like a global, drugs trafficking. That of course all this money that all this money that they make from this global drugs and human trafficking goes, to several places that, of course, could assist also the Turkish economy, but this is not the proper way. So a lot of discussion about how Turkish economy is surviving, but they don't need the International Monetary Fund to assist them. So everybody knows this is an open secret. Everybody knows that today Turkey is playing many role, many role, which is really makes this country as a member of NATO, um, to be like an oxymoron. An oxymoron. Of course, the United States believes until now that Turkey is a huge country, but they don't realize that if you are a member of the same club, like NATO or any other organization, you have to comply, with the NATO protocol and NATO alliances. You cannot just be a member and exploit your membership in order, to promote your national interests, which really are contradictory to the Western interests. That's all, sir.
Okay, I would say a couple of interesting things or insights you had, right? To point about Turkey. Now, if that's the case, right, and you define it as an oxymoron, how do you see the relationship between Turkey and Greece going ahead? Like, what do you say lies ahead? Is it just going to be a story of confrontation, or at some point, or do we have, let's just say, some light at the end of this tunnel?
Yes. Well, we are doing anything we can, to improve our collaboration. But in order to dance a tango, it requires two people. First of all, between us as as a NATO member, we need to be honest with each other. We can sign it 100,000 declaration and MOU. To me, it doesn't mean anything. The point is that we have to respect each other. If we see each other and then we are smiling and keep, a good feelings, and then the next date, Mr. Erdogan starts statement related, to the 1922, sacrifices, 1922 tragedy that many Greeks, were enforced to leave Turkey by the Turkish authorities, that doesn't make us feel quite good because history is there. So I think honesty inside the NATO, with the support, of the EU member state and the United States and Canada, will help us to understand each other. Now, as an independent scholar from Greece, I could say to you that the hypocrisy, is number one issues, and the lack of truth and hypocrisy do not help two NATO members to go each other. The only way that we are not so close to a conflict is that NATO member, and especially the United States and Germany, worry that the conflict between the two countries, Greece and Turkey, might destabilize southeastern Europe, which is going to be beneficial for Russia and China, to create more problem that we are faced today. Sir.
All right, Professor. Now, if hopefully the relationship going ahead, comes at a point wherein the two countries at least sit on a table and address each other's issues. But let's see. I mean, I guess we'll find out. Now, one of the things that you've also been pitching for through your writings and through, your wider academic coverages for greater defense ties between India and Greece. You've also
Yes.
written about how the almost inviting the Navy, right, to the Eastern Mediterranean for some sort of exercises. Now,
Yes,
why do you propose that?
yes. Well, since 2015, I was one of the few in Greece who started to talk about this security, defense, and intelligence collaboration between Greece and Turkey. In 2015, many people were asking me why, you focus so much about India. However, I was insisted a lot, and I was writing a lot of articles, even though many Greek decision makers did not understand from the beginning. Then I talk a lot in many conferences, and I participated in many India Zoom conferences, and I was on the Greek radio. So when I was giving interview on the Greek radio, uh, some journalists and some people from the Ministry of Defense in Greece listened to what I said. And they called me again and they said, please go ahead and continue to talk about Greek and India. So I had some meeting with a security professional in Greece, and I said in 2015, you need to speed up the defense, security, and intelligence with India now, 2015, now. And they said, they asked me, and I said, this is very important because India is going to be a tremendously important country as a geopolitical power, in the 21st century. You need to talk to India now. We need to invite India special forces to come to Greece and exercise with the Greek, forces that we are automatically in NATO operational level. You need, to talk to India to bring Indian Navy in the Eastern Mediterranean and to have exercise with the Greek Navy because it's unacceptable to see Pakistani, you know, Pakistani Navy on the Turkish border and they sail in the Eastern Mediterranean, and we don't see, our friends, our brothers from India to come to us. So the armed forces from India, special forces, Air Force, Navy, and Army should come to Greece and participate in joint activity we have here bilaterally and participate also India in the NATO consortium that we come. India is a country that is not only geographically in the southeast area, but India is going to be one of the most important countries and democratically as it is in us. So Greece is the birthplace of democracy, but the largest democracy is India. So it's a must. It's not a wish, it's a must to have as many India collaboration we can, and we need to have India defense, the India Armed Forces and Defense come to the Greek military school. We need to have the Greek intelligence service collaborate with the India intelligence service, the so-called RO, which I have studied a lot about the security system in India. So as you realize, to us, it's not just a strategic partner only on the paper, but we need to have India as a strategic practice, as a strategic partner on practical and operation level. All right. So this is important for us to open windows to Indian armed forces, to India research and development, and to Indian, weapon system that we need. We would like to see if they can help us here to deal with so many enemies that we face today. Sir.
Okay, I'm almost delighted with the interesting propositions that you've put forward for both of our countries to go ahead and cooperate upon. And one of the things that that resonates with every Indian is when from Greece itself, right? You touch upon how the two countries have played a part or continue to play a part in the world of democracy, right? So, Professor, with that, I would say we'd like to end this podcast on this note, right? But one of the things that I'd like to tell you is that, we'd like to have you again and a couple of times and more than a couple of times. And hopefully, whenever you come back to our country, we can again, sit with you and, record another podcast. Similarly, if you care to invite us to Greece, we'd like to come over there And let's keep this interaction between the two of us from your institution and the GeoStrata going on, and let's just keep covering geopolitics as it happens.
Yes. Well, like we just discussed about that, it's very important, for both of us, to come close in every sector we can. Many Greek businessmen look, India as a huge country, which is true, and they would like to export many Greek products. Okay, this is number one priority. Of course, recently Greece established the so-called Greek India Chamber of Commerce, which is just more or less, for the economic and trade collaboration. But to me, as a chairman, as a director of the Research Institute for European American Studies, it's more important to have a lot of collaboration among the young people, among the young decision makers. All right, and this is like, if I can use the word that I like a lot, we need to have a civil diplomacy. Like what Geostrata did to me is something that I like a lot, because when I give, interview to you is extremely objective. You see, I do not work for the Greek government. I
Yeah.
am just a researcher, so I pass to you information that it will be extremely difficult for me to give it to you if I were under a governmental umbrella. So the young generation, I'm very much close with the India Young Association, Young Indian Association. So we need to invest in the young people, all right, including, of course, economic, cultural relation, and historical, all these issues are there. But the point is, to me, two part of priorities is to have as many young scholars from India come to the Greek think tanks, to the Greek universities. It would be a good idea to have a center for India studies in Greece. Can you imagine that? And to have more Greeks come to India. In other words, to just try to establish a solid network in order to move to the next step. Because India uh, is, the country that is going to prevail in the 21st century. The 21st century is Indian century. Now, I talk to the Greek decision maker, to any time I talk to the Greeks, to the European, I always say, please do anything to bring India close to us, because the Islamization of Europe, is one of the huge problem we face. And just to say to you that in June we have the 2024 European election, and don't be surprised if you see a lot of nationalist, mood, and a lot of a conservative government that are concerning about the illegal migration, from all these migrants, that they come to us and they create a lot of community, that a lot of Muslim community that are reluctant to some extent, to assimilate themselves to the culture and the principle and the respect of the constitution in the European society. You are going to see this outcome in June 2024. Don't be surprised. I'm telling you from now. When I was in 2015 in Jaipur and I talk about illegal migration, you see what's happening after 3 years. Whatever I say to Jaipur, it happened after 3 years. Why? Because I'm doing a very objective field work, and I'm trying, to make an assessment and to, inform the Greek and the European and the American decision maker that the problem we have is not going to be solved only financially or only by having meeting and make declaration. And you can see that the same problem today, it takes place in the United States. Sir,
This is one of the things that's, I would say, driving geopolitics around the world, right? This specter of migration and the sort of resulting tensions that are coming up, it's just something that, and, who knows what, you've given us the electoral sort of outcome off of that, right? And when some of the recent elections have come, people have been, as you said, right? Don't be surprised. People have been surprised. Oh, how could this person win? We thought this person's not going to win. But that's something that, as you say, you point out, and hopefully there's a solution, ahead all of us, and as countries, we can find something that solves this problem, or at least does not make it as serious as we'd not like it to be. So, with that, Professor, I'd like to thank you again for coming
you,
up, and this was an amazing podcast, and we're always very excited to be talking more Greece, right? Talking more about Greece, and hopefully we do more of this again, and we cover the bilateral relationship as it goes ahead. So, thank you so
yeah.
much, the GeoStrata.
You're welcome. You're
Yes.
welcome, sir. You're welcome, sir. Please give my regard to the GeoStrata, think tank is one of the best think tank in, in the international community, and especially to the director, Mr. Suri, who had the, all the, give me the opportunity to be with you. Have a nice day, and thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you so much, sir. Have a great
Bye
day.
bye, sir. Bye
Okay.
bye. Bye bye. Bye
Bye.
bye, sir.